Hello and welcome. Today we're diving deep into one of the most subtle and, frankly, devastating manipulation tactics out there, gaslighting. It's a form of psychological abuse that doesn't leave any visible scars, but it can completely shatter a person's sense of their own reality. Just imagine for a second, what if you started to doubt your own memory, your perceptions, even your own sanity? That's the central question that gaslighting forces on its victims. It twists their world until they just don't know what to believe anymore. So, to really unpack this phenomenon, we're going to start with its surprisingly cinematic origin. Then we'll break down the specific strategies manipulators use, get into what actually motivates them, and look at the profound psychological fallout. And most importantly, we'll see how knowledge is the first real weapon to break this vicious cycle. All right, let's get into it. Believe it or not, to understand this complex psychological concept, we actually have to go back to an old black and white movie. The origin of the term itself gives us the perfect picture of what it really means. So at its core, gaslighting isn't just a simple lie. It's a continuous, insidious pattern of abuse. It works in the shadows to slowly, systematically erode the trust a victim has in their own mind. The name comes from a 1944 film called Gaslight. In the movie, a husband secretly dims the gaslights in their home, but when his wife notices and mentions it, he flatly denies it, telling her she's imagining things. It's that systematic denial of reality that became the very essence of the term. So how does this actually play out in real life? Gaslighting isn't a single act. It's an entire arsenal of calculated strategies used over and over again to destabilize the victim. This one is probably the most direct tactic, flat-out denial. The abuser denies things that clearly happened, even if there's proof. The goal here isn't just to deny the fact, it's to plant a seed of doubt in the victim's mind about their own memory. And then there's this classic move, minimization. The abuser takes the victim's completely valid emotional reactions and dismisses them as being too sensitive or an overreaction. Over time, this teaches the victim not to trust their own feelings. Now, this strategy is particularly perverse, rewriting history. The manipulator will completely flip the script to paint themselves as the victim. Suddenly, the person who is defending themselves from an insult is reframed as the unstable aggressor, forcing them to feel guilty for something they didn't even do. So, when you put all these pieces together, you see the core mechanics at play. Denial attacks your memory, rewriting history twists the blame, minimization invalidates your emotions, and throwing in plausible lies just creates so much confusion that the victim gets exhausted. It's a perfectly calculated web. Okay, so we've seen how it's done. But why? What is the ultimate goal of this manipulation? It's not just about winning an argument. The motivation runs much, much deeper. For the manipulator, gaslighting serves a few crucial functions. It's about total control, making the victim dependent on their version of reality. It's a defense mechanism, protecting their fragile ego because they never have to admit fault. And, crucially, it feeds their sense of grandiosity, watching someone else become completely subjugated to their will. And this right here, this is the end game. The intended result is the complete psychological isolation of the victim. By destroying their self-trust, the abuser positions themselves as the only source of truth, the only anchor in reality. This just solidifies their power and makes the victim even more vulnerable. Now, let's talk about the toll this takes. The impact of chronic gaslighting on a person's mental health is profound and long-lasting. It's often completely invisible to the outside world, but it's absolutely devastating on the inside. You can often see this tragic progression of psychological harm. It might start with anxiety and insomnia, but then it can escalate to depression and a total loss of identity. It can even lead to depersonalization, that terrifying feeling of being detached from your own life, like you're watching it from the outside. In severe cases, it results in complex PTSD, a type of trauma caused by prolonged, repeated abuse that affects every single area of a person's life. Okay, after all of that darkness, let's talk about the way out. How do you break the cycle? The path forward begins with a single, powerful tool: knowledge. It's absolutely crucial to understand this. Gaslighting doesn't just attack your emotions or your logic. It attacks the very foundation of who you are, your ability to trust your own senses to navigate the world. And if there is one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. Healing starts the moment a victim realizes that the confusion, the self-doubt, the anxiety, it isn't a sign that you're crazy or too sensitive. It is the intended result of deliberate external manipulation. That shift in perspective is the first step to reclaiming your own reality. So we'll leave you with this final question. Once the cycle is broken, the road to recovery can be long. Rebuilding trust in yourself, learning to validate your own feelings and perceptions again, that's the journey that follows. And it's a journey that truly proves the power of human resilience. Thanks for joining us.